Good morning and welcome to the course on how to develop your business English speaking and academic speaking using visuals and graphs. In today's lesson, we will be talking about classification, and we will learn how to use classification tables for comparing two objects. But at first, let's quickly review what we have already done. We have learned how to do classification tables and talk on them. We already have learned about the description of any part of the table. For giving examples, and we did it in expanded noun groups. And today we're going to learn about comparing and contrasting things. So let's look at what we are, or what we have already learned and what we can do. So when we saw any type of a graph, you remember that first of all, we need to think of the relationships. When, for example, today here, we are reviewing the MBTI test and the MBTI types. And you see that the relations here will be the relations of categories. There are different categories. The relation of dichotomy or continuum, when we have two opposite parts of the same thing. And then we can see here the listing when we have first, second, third, and fourth. And we can use transformation as well. So when we learn about the MBTI and we have this type of the table, we can talk about the four main categories, the dichotomy inside each category, and we can list them in this way. Also, for speaking, we will need the transformation. So let's let's look at the two types of visuals. One is that we have already studied, and another one presents the same information, only in a more structured way. Again, we have the relationship. Again, we have dichotomy or continuum. We have listing, and we can use transformation. So using this table, using this visual, we can talk about MBTI dichotomies, which are presented in the four categories that are focus of attention, information input, decision making, and lifestyle. So now we're talking about dichotomies, that each dichotomy or continuum has its we can talk about the opposites. It's opposites, so they're extroversion and introversion, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling, and judging and perceiving. And when we describe this table, of course, we can talk using the transformations. So even these two tables, they present the transformation. For example, we can say that the first category is the focus of attention, or we can transform and say in the first category, the test presents the direction in which we focus our attention and energy. Again, we can say information input, or we can say that in the second dichotomy, we see how the information is taken in, how the decisions are made, and about our lifestyle. So those were the two basic tables that we took for the MBTI style, and I hope for your MBTI type, and I hope you have already took the test and you know your type. So step number 2, basing on your type and the results of your test, we can took the same visual and we can describe your type with an expanded noun phrase. Here is the example of one of the students. You see that this is a very long group of words where all the elements are connected. I belong to the ISTJ type that indicates internal focus of my attention. And here is an example: sensing input of my information, thinking, decision making, and a judging lifestyle. And here the student has given examples from her life. So once again, we just took the table and we looked at it and classified it. Then we, using the relationship, we described this table. Then we did the extended or expanded noun phrase or noun group. And now we are finally going to talk about comparisons. So when we have the table, we usually see, for comparison, we usually see this 3 types of relations inside the table. So they are, the 2 objects have similar characteristics, and then we use these words. Then 2 objects have different characteristics, and then we contrast them. We're talking about but, however, whereas, unlike, in contrast to. And also 2 objects have similar and different characteristics. So, and then we say that despite these 2, they both have this and this. I would recommend you to study this table deeper and to look at it longer, or to use the screen that I've sent you. And now let's try to compare ENFP to ENFJ using the table and the phrases. So you see what we do for comparison. Again, we use the classification table, but in this table, we put the 2 types. We leave the column in the middle for their similarities. And if they have differences, we place the differences in each type's column. So let's look at the table closer. We see that we are characterizing these 2 types by the following categories: the focus of attention, the information input, decision making, and lifestyle. And we see that they have similar characteristics: extroverted, intuitive, and they are based on feeling. And also they have different characteristics. As for the lifestyle, it is in ENFP's case, it is based on perceiving, while in ENFJ's case, it is based on judging. So we see the table and we see the relations inside the table: similarities, differences, and categories to talk about. So altogether, using this graph, using this table, we can talk about the similarities and differences of 2 types. And that's what we will say. We will say that both ENFP and ENFJ are extroverted, intuitive, and they base their decision-making on feelings. However, or we can say while, or whereas, or in contrast to. So, whereas ENFP has a perceiving thinking, yeah? So the ENFJ has a judging thinking, and that is how he differs from ENFP. So altogether, they have similar and different characteristics. So we can say that despite differences in the lifestyle, both ENFP and ENFJ are similar in the focus of attention, information input, and decision making. So today here we have revised the classification tables. We learned how to find out the relations inside the table. We described each category with the expanded noun phrase, and that was our main idea here. We learned about comparing and contrasting two things, objects, or ideas. For this, again, we used the table, and using this table, we defined what the relations are, and we were able to compare two types. Your home task will be to compare your type to any other type you find important. Thank you for your attention, and goodbye.